Hey, Alli, if I've injured myself and my doctor has told me I need to rest for 6 weeks, what should I do?
Hmm. We don't want to say don't listen to your doctor, but maybe it's time to be a little bit curious about what do they really mean and what effect is that going to have on us. And thankfully, we have our guest today, Mr. Alwyn Cosgrove, who has been in the fitness industry for over 30 years, and he is the owner of Results Fitness University. He trains trainers, trains athletes, trains average everyday clients, and he has dealt with a little bit of everything. And he's going to tell us how to approach those recommendations that we might get from the medical community.
And a lot more. Before we dive in, let's give a shout out to Roberta Folk. Thank you for listening. Now let's dive in.
Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey.
We are so excited to have Mr. Alwyn Cosgrove with us on the Girls Talk Healthy Aging. Welcome, Alwyn.
Guys, thank you for having me. I'm honored. We had some heavy hitters on this podcast, and now me.
Hey, no, you're right there with the heavy hitters. You're an author, a mentor. You've been one of my mentors. You're a coach. You own a Results Fitness out in California. You have multiple businesses, speaking engagements, things that you do. And so we are the ones that are honored to have you here to share with us about maybe some shop talk, but also some things that'll be practical for the client out there who's working with personal trainers. So thank you for all the wisdom you bring.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Can you share just a little bit about your journey into the world of strength training and personal training? How did we get here?
So I started as a competitive martial artist. I was competing in Taekwondo back in Scotland, where I'm originally from. And then I really became obsessed with competing, or perhaps a better phrase, I wanted to win things, right? And at some level, when you realize anything, you realize boxing or tennis or anything, like, comes down to sort of physical attributes. Like if me and another guy knew the same Taekwondo, right, then who is going to win is the person who could apply it. So I started to get really interested in sports science, and it sent me, it took me through college and, studying it completely just to become a better athlete. And while I was in college, I had some other athletes start to seek me out because I was just obsessed with training stuff, and I started training them. But in 1994, things took a turn. My mom died of a heart attack due to being overweight, and at the time, I had written a paper in college about like exercise for fat loss, exercise for general health, and my mother had followed the program, and it had made no difference at all. That paper got an A, but it got an F in reality. So I kind of took a turn then. As much as I enjoy competing, and I still competed, as much as I enjoy looking at sports and high level guys, I started to be more interested in general fitness. And if you look at some of the obesity maps and stuff in the United States right now, we've got more fitness knowledge than ever, yet we're not getting it done. We're not helping, and we're not making a difference. So really, I've become more interested. I have a lot of athletes I've trained, and I have a lot of people, and these guys are great clients. But my real passion, I just feel, is real people with real challenges, right? Like the 100-meter world record only went a few years ago. The squat record, the marathon record, they're all recent. Yeah, obesity is at an all-time high. Like when that's where the challenges are coming. That's where the things that excite me. So that kind of led me on a path to just becoming a coach. And I was teaching Taekwondo over here. I got a visa to teach Taekwondo, and I was working at a summer camp and then a local place. And it was actually up in the Catskills of New York. And I worked at the hotel, which was the inspiration for the film Dirty Dancing. It's like a Jewish resort where everybody went. I actually worked there. I worked there as a lifeguard and a gym instructor. And then I got a job in a gym in New York, and I started training people there. And I'll fast forward the story. Worked at another gym. We hired a girl who will tell you to this day that gym never opened. The gym sold before it opened, so I was never her boss. But that was when a young girl, Rachel Casper, walked in, who's now been my wife for 25 years. So that we both met in New York, which our joke is it's halfway between California, where she was from, and Scotland, where I'm from. We met halfway, and now we live out here in California. So that's the sort of cliff notes of the last 30 years of my life.
Yeah, I love hearing the background because you have been at this fitness game for a minute, and we've been at this fitness. Shawna and I have been here for a minute too, and we've seen things and experienced things, and we have a little more experience under our belt than maybe some fresh trainers out there. So they may struggle with one of the things that I want to talk about today that I saw you post about online that got me interested in having this conversation. So if y'all are on Instagram, definitely follow Alwyn Cosgrove, and we'll put the links in the show notes. Follow him on Instagram. He has some good stuff. You recently posted about frustration. I'm frustrated with it, but I don't know if that was your feelings when you posted this that we deal with as coaches, and that is when athletes or clients, whether you're working with athletes or clients that are everyday people, at some point we're going to have a shoulder tweak or something that bothers us, and we're going to have pain. We may have to have some type of go to a doctor. We may have to go to physical therapy. We may have to have surgery, and then we may get out of our fitness programming and come back to fitness, maybe, or maybe we don't. And so that is something that if you're a client, you're probably going to deal with if you are working out for some amount of time at some point. And if you're a coach, you're going to have to figure out how to maneuver that. And because you have so much experience and you mentor people, I want us to maybe have some conversation that'll be helpful to the Miss Smith who's listening, Miss Jones who's working out, who may have an injury, may have had surgery, or that coach that is trying to keep Miss Smith active before surgery, after surgery. So tell me about the post that do you remember that post?
Yeah, I remember it. So just to your point, first of all, I call all my people athletes. Like if it's a quote from Bill Bowerman of Nike, if you have a body, you're an athlete. So if
I agree.
I use the term athletes coming up, I don't necessarily mean someone who's in competition. It just, Mrs. Jones, who's a mom of two, that's the hardest sport in the world, perhaps the game of life. So I use the term athletes. So I think that the biggest thing is, and I want to be clear that this is not, this can sometimes come across as like I'm attacking the medical profession. That is not my fault at all. That is not my goal. What I've found interesting, and I found it a personal philosophy, if you come from a position of curiosity, you tend to do better without getting frustrated. I don't know why we ask doctors exercise advice. Like, we don't study it. And I'm sure there's exceptions to this rule. And if you're a medical professional, listen to this, and you're the exception to this rule, you recognize that you're the exception to this rule. I've spent longer in college only studying exercise science than most doctors spend. That is not a flex. That's just, I'm very narrow in what I understand. I know they don't understand exercise. I also think they know they don't understand exercise, but I think the general population think they do. So they ask them exercise questions. If you met with your financial planner today and he gave you a tax strategy, said, here's what we're going to do for your taxes this year, I don't think you need to run it by me as your fitness coach, because I don't understand that. But sometimes we're running things by doctors or our clients or athletes running things by doctors, and you're just running it by someone who I feel is perhaps not qualified on the exercise front. Now, on the flip side, you've seen the average trainer in some gyms. Have you talked about this before, that there's absolutely no barrier to entry? So I understand why doctors don't refer to a lot of personal trainers, right? Like, I get that. So, but my frustration comes where I'll hear something like, no exercise for 2 weeks. You had a knee injury, no exercise for 2 weeks. I'm like, nothing at all. Like nothing. Like walking is not allowed. They couldn't sit on the bench and do upper body. There's nothing. Like a shoulder lateral raise for one rep would be dangerous for the knee. Well, that's absurd, right? But it's just this blanket statements where like, that sounds about right. Or even worse, you're you can only lift 15 pounds for 2 weeks. And then think about that, right? Did you ask her how much she could lift anyway? What if she couldn't lift 15? Right, now you've just cleared her for max attempts. Or she can.
Or what if she has a baby what if she has a child that weighs 25, 28, 30 pounds?
I had a staff member actually, and it was her second pregnancy, and the doctor said, don't lift anything over 20 pounds. Because one, I have to do that for my job, and two, my toddler weighs more than that. Right? So again, I'm like, if you said, whenever somebody gives a specific number, I have questions, right? Like,
where did they get that? Where did they get that number from?
Come from? Like, if Shawna can only lift 15 pounds and you've cleared her to do that, then okay, but she can lift 700. I think 400 would be conservative, right? So it's all due respect to the medical profession. I don't understand some of their recommendations, but I'm going to give a disclaimer. Often this is what the client or the athlete is telling me the doctor said. And I think you said that in a message, Alli, that this isn't what the doctor said. This is
that's our interpretation, and our clients don't always have the knowledge of exercise that we do either. They're not the exercise professional either.
I've had people say, "But you can do lightweight for high reps," and I'm like, well, if you're climbing stairs, then you're manipulating body weight on one leg. So we could do sets of 60 step-ups. That would be ridiculous, right? That's the lightest weight possible. Like, how are we doing it with less weight? So I just have, the doctors don't formally study strength training, and I feel like it's perhaps our fault as a profession that we're not taken seriously, that we're not respected. I mean, in California, exercise was considered illegal during the COVID lockdown. Indoor exercise was illegal. We were never looked at as somebody that could help. We were never even entertained. Meanwhile, liquor stores and marijuana dispensaries were essential in California. They were considered helpful. But I take ownership for this. I think the fitness profession has done a poor job of establishing us as experts. But my curiosity comes from, how did we get to a situation where a doctor's advice on exercise is considered higher than, and I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, a 25-year gym owner who's been doing this full time now for 30-something years,
and has the educational background, like
magazines.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that would be a good segue here for helping our clients to understand why that is, because they may not understand why our expertise is not actually looked at with any kind of like, okay, this person is who you should listen to, or that, the exercise professional is a professional, because not all exercise professionals in finger quotes are professional. And so I think can you speak to that with your experience, Alwyn?
Yeah, I think there's it's the old it's still a young field, right? To be right, it's still like we're I don't know who the first fitness trainer ever was, but I know one of the best strength and conditioning coaches of all time was a guy, Alvin, who's only just retired. Right, he was with the 49ers and the Chicago Bulls, and Mike Boyle's one of my mentors, who's like I feel like he's ahead of me, but he's not that much older than me, right? He's still around, so we're kind of in this first generation where we're still figuring it out, and I think it's getting better. But there is like there's no, and I'm not sure I want government involvement or licensure, but
right.
I feel like the barrier to entry is fairly small. If you were a good-looking, in-shape female and decided you were a personal trainer, you would get clients, and good on you. But there's some stuff you don't know. There are some contraindications. There are some science to the program. There's some nuance to this that I still haven't figured it out yet. Right? So
we're still learning. We're still students of all this.
I think if you're new to maybe hiring a coach, I would ask for references or things they've done with their clients, not like their own bio. I think I think certifications and qualifications are important, but I think there's something you acquire along the way. I don't think they make you good. I think that I'd be suspicious of somebody who was a martial artist for 25 years who's not a black belt in anything, right? So I'd be suspicious of any coach who's I've been doing this for a while, but I don't have any formal qualifications. So
Yeah.
a good question to ask is just ask about their qualifications, ask about their experience. And I always ask, what was the last seminar you attended? What was the one you attended? What are you doing currently to move yourself forward, right? So that's the thing. But I want to just circle back quickly on the doctor thing.
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know.
If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you.
And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
If you understand that they don't study strength training and they're going to give a general recommendation, if you want to be the average, you could follow that. If you want to be the average patient, you can follow that. But I had stage 4 cancer. I ended up having a transplant, and these doctors made me walk a mile a day up and down the hallway, pushing my IV pole. They thought exercise was so vital, you had to do that, right? So I'm not tarring all the physicians with the same brush here, but there are some who just don't understand exercise. We're in a weird litigious society where they're going to cover their own butt, right?
Yeah.
And a safe recommendation is to do nothing. So I always call a doctor, and usually they just give me carte blanche after they talk to me for 5 minutes. Like, no squats. You've had that before, right? Client can't do squats. And I'm like, can we define that? Because I can find it sitting in a chair, going to the bathroom, eating.
Right. Sitting is a squat. You're sitting. You're getting into a squat.
Getting in and out of a car is a single leg rotational 1 leg squat, right?
Very complicated.
So but you're saying this person can't sit in a chair. Is that really what you mean? And then you usually mean like no load. I'm like, no load on the legs or no load on the back.
Yeah.
They're like, just be smart. I'm like, all right, thanks. I can do anything, right? And they'll always. But I understand the average guy they talk to is like going to load up a leg press or something. But I just want.
I think that's the vision that people have when they think about a training or a personal trainer or a gym. And I could be totally wrong, but I get the feeling that these folks are thinking that you're going in and just putting tons of weight on a bar on your back and doing like just as many, just going all out with every workout, and that there's no understanding. Even clients don't understand, and certainly physicians don't. That how many types of lunges? When you say somebody can't do a lunge pattern, like that's a movement pattern, and how many ways can you do that? If you tell someone they can't squat, that's a movement pattern, and what that really means. When we hear that, we hear one thing, the doctor's probably thinking one thing, and the client's hearing something different. So we've got these 3 conversations going on. So no wonder it is.
That's one of my coaches, Craig Rasmussen. He always said that nomenclature is the bane of my existence, because a doctor thinks a squat is a barbell back squat, but I think it could be in and out of a chair. I would wish that we were respected as much as doctors or lawyers or accountants. Like, you don't ask your doctor for accountant's advice, right? And I feel like that's the part. And I think for a patient, to use that term, your goal is to think, what can I do? I had a girl, she's an American Ninja Warrior athlete, and she's also a stunt person, and she broke her leg pretty badly. And I think she broke it on the Friday, and on Monday she came in and was, all right, what else can we do? And with that attitude, I can do a lot. Like, we figured that out, and she's back. She's since won like a world championships in obstacle course racing. She's a rock star athlete. But that mindset wasn't me. That was her. She could, like, other people, like, I rolled my ankle. Doctor says to take 6 weeks off. I'm like, you could have 1 leg, and I could still get you in shape. Right, you've only got 1 joint injured, but this girl had a broken leg, and I've had her in another stunt, broke her clavicle. Like she's broken her ankle. Just unfortunately, the nature of being a stunt woman is you're going to have some injuries. But she's always just like, we'll figure this out. Like we'll do one arm dumbbell presses where the other arm's in a sling. And she just always trained. And there's a whole bunch of science on cross limb transfer.
Yes.
In one side, the other side stays, or some days gets stronger. The science is clear. Rest is
If you just do nothing, yes, we lose so much. Can you, speak to that versus?
So basically, for those listening, if you were to injure your left arm and you couldn't move it, it's completely immobile. Well, science has shown that training the opposite side, right? There's a strength increase, or at least a maintenance in this arm with muscle tone too. The body sends the nervous. We think, right? I'm sure there's a neurologist listening to this who's going to make me look like an idiot. But we think that there's some type of patterning that goes to both sides and maintains this. So while this left side cannot be worked, we have to aggressively work the right side to keep this strong, so that when it's finally able to work, we haven't just lost total strength. So imagine that. Imagine that it's an ankle injury, and the ankle gets weak and that leg gets weak, and we have to get it stronger. And in the 6 weeks it's taken for that to heal, we've trained nothing else. Now everything is backslid in 6 weeks.
Yeah, everything. Your whole body is weak.
I've got to get 6 weeks of training to get you to where you were.
That's why to me it takes 12 weeks just to get back, because you got to get 6, whatever you missed, that just is going to hopefully get you back to where you were before you stopped.
Yeah, we lose 3 months. It's 6 weeks to get you back before we can progress. But if we train everything else at the same time, not only is everything else in better shape, the rehab will catch up faster in that injured area. So it's always, I can't think, I'm sure there's some weird disease somewhere where exercise and breathing heavy or straining makes it worse, but I can't think of it. Like I've seen my dad back in Scotland. I've recently had to go back there for a while, and I had to move him into a long-term care facility. My brother's still over there, but it needs professional round-the-clock care now. But my dad is frail and heavy, and I wrote this on my Instagram too, is staying strong and staying light or lean, I think is the magic, beam for longevity. If you were light and weak, you might still be okay to do activities of daily living. If you were heavy and strong, you might be okay to do activities of daily living. But heavy and weak, that's a dangerous place to be. That's a hard place to be when you age, that you're functionally unable to do things.
So you were talking about obesity and that just speaks to where we are as a society. A lot of us are heavy and weak.
There's a number that you can't squat, right? There's a number where the weight's too heavy for you. But imagine that becomes your body weight. And now climbing stairs is out of the question, right? Like going for a walk is out of the question. So I think and I just want to pitch, when you get that knee injury and you're told to take 6 weeks completely off, this is where it begins.
Yeah.
You're becoming more frail. You're becoming less robust, and it's a slippery slope. Like it's where Mother Nature is undefeated, right? I'm training hard myself, just trying to not backslide as I age, right? So I'm on the back nine of my career. I'm not old, but I'm not a 20-year-old. I've got one kid. We're talking about how long we're doing this. I've got one young coach who works for me who was not alive when I opened Results Fitness. That's a weird feeling. He wasn't. He didn't. I was training people before he was legitimately born.
Yeah.
So I think I have a phrase. Strength training is a cheat code. Like in video games, a cheat code is an unfair advantage. The reason steroids are banned in sports is because they give an unfair advantage, right? Having strength I know you people can identify however they want nowadays, but if you look at any sports, pretty much, when males and females compete equally, the males have better times or they're stronger. And it's because if you could take a female soccer team and make them stronger than the men's team, they beat them, right? The strength is the difference. So strength training is like a cheat code, and the one thing I wish I think we went things backwards. We used to look at cardiovascular health as the most important thing. And then we started to realize that the only reason the heart and lungs are challenged is because the body's moving. And if the body finds it hard because it's not strong enough, the heart beats faster. So maybe strength training was a better idea. And then taking it further, you still got to do something fast. Have you ever seen an old person fall? It's horrific, but it's the same speed we fall. They don't fall slower. They fall at full speed. So maybe, keeping some type of fast movement in your training could be a cool thing too, right? But it's, I think there's a book called Younger Next Year, and they really, honestly, with all respect to the authors, the first 2 chapters sum up the whole book. But their idea is that aging doesn't have to be this decline like this, that 35, 40, 45, 50, all the way down. It could just be like, and then you fall off a cliff in the last week of your life. Right? And you can stay functional for a long time, right? It doesn't have to be this, a decline. And it's that's kind of where my passion sort of lies right now. And that's what I want to be. I try to be positive. That my little rant about the medical profession was, I felt like I kept running into a wall with certain things.
Yes. Tell us about with clients that you've seen that were like because you gave the example of the American Ninja Warrior type client that's like, all right, what can I do? My arm's falling off, but what can I do besides use this arm? How those clients do as far as recovering versus the client that's like, got to take 6 weeks, 8 weeks off.
It's not even a discussion. Like, I can't even match it like that. It's your if you've been exercising regularly, like complete bed rest, complete not doing anything is a terrible idea. It's just a terrible idea in general, right? Like, maybe we can't do a lot, but there's things we can do. And you like we've said, is their interpretation of what the doctor said. The doctor said, like, don't overdo it. Like, man, don't silly and do something, start doing, single leg plyos off your broken ankle. But he didn't mean just bed rest for 6 months, right? So be an advocate for yourself. No one's coming to save you, is the phrase, right? Like, you have to take ownership of yourself. And do you really think that because you have a little, knee pain, that a full body rest period is the way to go? Now, I'm not saying every coach or every fitness trainer out there has all the answers, but I could just be, all right, I'm not going to look at your left knee at all, but upper body's fine, core's fine. Like, we can do a lot of stuff, right? We can, and we can take an opportunity right now to make you like more robust overall, right? Like, it's you see athletes coming back rapidly after injuries, right? They come back fast, and it's because they're putting in work. They're not putting in hours of rest. They're putting in smart, strategic work.
And how about the mental cost of bed rest? I've blown my knee out. My doctor says bed rest. I'm not doing anything. Speak to how that can affect mental health.
So when we were during professionally, the lockdown was one of the hardest times in my life. But I have coffee every day, but I don't identify as a coffee drinker. I'm not like, hey, Alwyn Cosgrove, the coffee drinker. That's not how my identity is. I think if you saw yourself as a gym owner when it was locked down, your identity was just crushed. But I was able to think of myself as a fitness professional who wrote books, did articles, coached other businesses, coached people, wrote programs, was a speaker, could do some stuff on Zoom, was still training. I just couldn't open a gym. That's just like moving my investments in the stock market around. You have a knee injury, Shawna. You're not frail. You're not on bed rest, right? You're an athlete who's just got a little tweak we got to work around right now, right? If you just think like that, we're going to come back right away. If you think of yourself as a sick person who has to be in bed, you're right. That is what you will become. But I'm just like, all right, we've got all these other joints in the body that we can take advantage of because we've got extra training time. We don't have to worry about the left knee, right? We've got everything else. Yeah. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back better. Right, we're going to build you, and we're going to take this time to really. We're going to your core. Let's work on that a little bit. We'll work on your upper body endurance a little bit. Right, we'll tighten up your diet and make it a little more anti-inflammatory. And we can maybe even lean out or build some muscle right now. We can do either one of these things. But it's getting your mindset into this is just a temporary thing. This is not who you are. right?
Yeah.
If you start to think of it, if I can get in your head and make you question yourself as a competitive martial artist fighting you, if I can make you question yourself for a second, it's done, right? That's your resiliency. But on the flip side, it's just like, all right, you've got a little injury right now. What else is there? If you're in the middle of it, I learned this from Rachel. She did my wife. She'd done a Ironman triathlete. She was, when you're feeling really hard in a race, you just go through a checklist. So how's my neck? Good. Shoulders. All right. Elbows. Just go through the whole body and just like, all right, like everything's all right. Like, oh, I'm a little, let me just shake it out a little bit. But if I can talk to you as like, you didn't blow out your entire body. You got a knee injury, right?
Yeah.
You're still an athlete. We're going to figure it out. And that mindset, and that's the part you can't take away. That girl coming in going, what can we do? Versus someone taking 6 weeks off. That's just the mindset issue. That's just an operating system up here that, it changes people that I think I help support, but I don't create. But I really believe that if you think of yourself as, we're just a little bump in the road right now, your identity didn't change. You're not a sick person. You're not frail. You just got an injury.
And I think the what can I do mindset, whether it's with health, with anything, is going to help us with healthy aging, particularly with like our fitness and health. But you could look at it with your finances, with your career, but it's such an empowering statement of what can I do, whereas looking at the things that you can't, which is so limiting. So I think that's such a powerful message that crosses a lot of boundaries.
I think you see it too if you look at like maybe an investment in education, like as a fitness professional or in any field, and your first instincts are, wow, that's expensive, I can't afford that. Like your your mind will agree with you when you say that. But perhaps a better question is, how can I afford that? I'm not making up a lie. Like I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm rich, I have all the abundance in the world, there's no weeds in my garden, right? But it's, what's the fastest way to get rid of these weeds? How can I afford this? What do I have to do to be able to afford this? Who do I have to become? Right?
Yeah.
So what can I do is always the action step, because that empowers you. That takes the power back instead of giving it away. You're like, what can I do? Like, I hurt my knee. I'm going to put an inch on my biceps in this next 3 months. I'm going to train really heavy and get super strong. I'm going to improve my chin ups. So these are easy words to say, right? Like it's just easy. But I did it for a while. It was a Lance Armstrong Livestrong band on my wrist, and I would catch myself saying things like, "Oh, I can't afford that course," and I would snap the band till it hurt, and I would say out loud, "Cancel. How can I afford this course?" Right? Oh, woe is me, my knee hurts. Cancel. My knee is healing. What else can I do to get strong right now? Like, and it just, you can train it. You can train your mindset. You can train it. Like the same as you can train your physical body, you can train your mindset. And just like it's an awareness thing. Like, I mean, how many yellow cars did you see this morning? You don't know because you weren't looking. But once I told you, you'll notice them all this evening, right? Like you become in tune with it. So you can get in tune with that mindset stuff too. But it's you take back the power when you control your thoughts.
And I think that is one of the strongest reasons people should look for a coach, because there's the knowledge, but it's also that shift in mindset that when you're down with the knee injury or with whatever is ailing you, a coach can help you turn that upside down as an opportunity that, wow, guess what? Your pull-ups, you're going to have a strong pull-up game.
It's unlikely that this is your first bad knee injury. It's unlikely it's the first one I've seen. Right, so now there's two of us with all my experience coming in. There's the story, right? Like a lady walks along the street and she falls into a hole and she's stuck in the hole and she can't get out. And she shouts up to her. She's a doctor walking by. She shouts up to her doctor, "Hey doctor, can you help me get out of this hole?" And the doctor writes a prescription and throws it down into the hole and goes, "Take that 3 times a day, you'll be good." Still stuck in the hole. And then she's walking by, a physical therapist walks by and she goes, "Hey physical therapist, I'm stuck in this hole." Physical therapist says, "Here, do these exercises at home every day and I'll see you in 2 weeks." But she's still stuck in the hole. And then a coach walks by and she's like, "Hey coach Shawna, can you help me get out of this hole?" And Shawna jumps right in the hole. And she's like, great, now we're both in this hole. But you say, yep, but I've been in this hole before and I know how to get out of it. Follow me.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
power of the coach, is somebody who's been there before you and has taken people on this journey before. And it's always, I've never been a 45-year-old female trying to lose body fat, but I've done it with 300 and 400 of them, right? And it's that's the power of being a coach, is you don't only have me, all your knowledge, plus all my knowledge, you've got all my experience and all the knowledge of the clients before me that can get handed to you right now. And you will figure it out on your own eventually, right? If you become a fitness coach and open a gym and go full time for the last 30 years, or you can just do it today. And I got you. Like, you already hired me, I got you, right? So,
well, that's what you're buying, is speed.
yep.
Because sure, you could be like you, Alan, and 30 years from now, you'll have all those answers, or you could have them in right now. So the value of investing in yourself, and that's the idea of like, I can't afford it. Well, how can you? And how can you not?
I forget who told me this, but it was time to produce, time to consume. There's an imbalance. So it takes a long time to write a book, like a lifetime of knowledge, and then a year or so of writing it, and you can read it in a week or two, right? Like, that's an invaluable investment, right? Like, you, within an hour of, a consult with me, or, hiring me a couple of days a week, you've got every course I've ever been to.
Yeah.
At your fingertips. And tonight you go home and you don't have to worry about it, because I'm going to be reviewing and reading stuff. Like, one of my mentors, Michael Boyle, he used to get criticized because he would change his mind on things. And he remember him saying at one seminar, he goes, I apologize for my education getting in the way of my stagnation. But he's always been a guy that I was excited to learn from, because I know he was learning. Like, I got a cheat code, because I'm learning from one source who's learning from 5 that I get advantage to, and that trickles down to my clients too. So it is at some level, and I think this came from Cody Sanchez. At some level, it's a who problem, not a what problem. Who do you need to hire to get you to this next level? Who is that person? Right? And I think that's the idea, is hiring a coach or hiring a fitness professional is all about, as you said, it's just, like, it's a time machine. Like, we're going to get it done faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the most valued commodity, is time. And it is very discouraging. I find it very discouraging when Mrs. Jones or any athlete is out there going down all these rabbit holes, solutions, and they're just wasting time.
But it's never like, what do you think about this? I'll do strength training 3 times a week for an hour. I'll do 3 30-minute cardios. I'll do 10,000 steps a day and eat high-protein diet. It's never that. It's always like, what do you think of this pill?
Yes, this supplement.
Or this cleanse.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And I wrote this the other day, is everybody's looking for a hack, right? But if you decide for the next 3 months to commit to the basics, what we call the basics, you'll be unrecognizable.
Yeah.
I've done it myself. I've recently we sold a house before we bought a house, so we didn't know where we were going to live for a while. My dad got taken to hospital. I had to go over to Scotland to move him to a care home. We had the 25th anniversary at the gym. We had a staff member leave. We had a course in town, and my own, like, I'm not in a place to handle a lot of hard training, but I had to go to just, like, let me go on maintenance. And now that I'm kind of over all the sort of stress, like, what's your fast track plan to get back on track? No 2-a-day workouts, no 0 carbs, no, just back to basics. And in Scotland, they call it, like, screw the nut, like, get your head back on straight. Like, back to basics. Like, just, like, don't eat every meal at the restaurant because you didn't prepare food, right? Don't forget, like, there's a lot of things that, even as a fitness professional, that at times of stress, like, you can drift away, but I don't need a hack. Just back to basics. Like, and one of my clients is Wendy. She's fairly new with me. She's had a transformation physically, but I just said to her, "Can you eat like a grown-up this weekend?" And she goes, that was just a snap in my head that I'm like, I'm a mother. I'm either like a college freshman. And I
Yeah.
go, like a
Yeah.
grown up, please. And she's like, that was just the only thing I needed to tell her nutritionally. Right?
Yeah.
Just like, can you just, keep it calm? But there is that, that the basics are like,
They're so underrated.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think too, and perhaps I'm guilty of this because the posts on my Instagram of the small percentage of sport specific exercises that we do gets the big hits. It gets the shit, right? You'd be very disappointed if you came and joined Results Fitness and saw the bulk of what we do are simple exercises coached savagely well. Right?
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Is it's squats, pushes, pulls, chin-ups, lunges. Like it's very simple stuff with good technique, smart overloading, and good social support. And yeah, there's a little bit of cool stuff in there too. But it's the bulk of what we do is relentless at the basics.
One of my clients had been training with me for about 6 months, and she came and said, well, I'm just kind of getting bored. And I said, well, get used to it, because it, we'll, just like you're saying, we'll throw in a bit of spice, a little sizzle, but you have to just accept that some things you just do them. Because
that brushing your teeth every day, man, that gets just relentless.
It's so boring. But I do like having teeth in my head, so I'm going to brush my teeth, and that's just the best analogy.
I like them to pick out like a 5K or something. Give us a little bit of a direction, and maybe that's the challenge. But it is like at some point, this is just body maintenance. Like you get up and you got to take a shower. Sorry, the shower doesn't last.
Like you said, the Instagram, we live in this Instagram world where everything has to, it's not going to get any views if it's not extraordinary or over the top. So our clients are thinking, I have clients that come in with these videos of someone doing something crazy and they're like wanting to try it. I don't have as much of that, but I have had that. So and I'm like, okay, let's break this down and let's look at what they're actually doing here and what skills you would need to acquire to be able to accomplish what they just did.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too is there are some things with athletes that what you're seeing is a demonstration of an ability. Like I think box jumps are an example of that I don't think it develops much. I think it's just a demonstration of what you can do from your other training. Like so I have a phrase: adaptation, not demonstration. Like I want to do something that's gonna train you to develop and improve. And then if your goal is to do one of these cool exercises, like in and of itself, that doesn't make sense. But it's I'll get a comment from someone will look at perhaps Tiana, the ninja girl, and go, I want arms that look like that. I'm like, she's never once tried to look this way. She's just tried to get strong. And that getting strong translates to that look, right? That girl can do, she's incredibly strong. She weighs like 119 and can do chin-ups with 85 pounds, right? Additional, but the body changes when you focus on the basic functional movements that we can do. But I don't mind a little bit of, you get a little bit of dessert if you eat your vegetables, right? We can do some cool stuff. And usually it means something fast, right? It usually means something fast or I say wobbly, some type of balancing stability thing that people think are cool, right? But the bulk of like I said, the bulk of what we do is, pretty simple. You'd be surprised how little sexiness goes into it.
Well, yeah, people didn't get to look the way that they're so fit on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they're doing this wild, crazy, tough skill, but they didn't get there by doing that crazy, wild skill. That's not how they got the ability to do the crazy, wild skill. They got there by doing the boring.
It's like saying you want the physique of that elite boxer by getting punched in the face. I'm like, that's not how it was developed, right? Yeah. But there is too, I think, also having worked for Men's Health and the magazines, I've been at, like, people bringing, I want to look like that girl, right? I'm like, one, that girl is so genetically gifted, she became a model. Two, she's dieted for 16 weeks to get 2 shots that were perfect from the whole day for this cover. And 3, they photoshopped that anyway.
Yep. Yes.
So she doesn't even look like that. So that's that's sort of maybe the downside of social media and some of that stuff is people aren't seeing the real stuff that goes into it.
I get frustrated when Mr. or Mrs. Jones beats themselves up over a lump or a bump, but misses the whole picture over functionality. I think we really need to be focusing more on function and strength over aesthetics, because as you said, that fitness model doesn't even look like that fitness model.
Yeah. I think it's a weird thing, and I think that's, again, I want to take ownership in the fitness industry that we're perhaps to blame a little bit for that. That this is fitness. This is a women's fitness magazine, a men's fitness magazine is a person at low body fat. Like that's not a definition of fitness whatsoever. Fitness is an ability to do, right? Again, we were not taken seriously during the COVID lockdown as being people that could help. Because we position ourselves as different. The evidence on exercise and mental health, it outperforms some drugs. Like you think exercise is good for you, but when you start looking at the data on mental health, it's outperforming actual pharmaceutical interventions. But we don't talk about exercise and mental health enough. We don't talk about exercise and function. And I've looked at a trip to Scotland recently, and you got to make a connection, and you got to drag your bags across the airport, and got to be quick, and then you get to your destination, and it's a big flight of stairs up to where you're staying, and then I know family members that couldn't do that, like they just physically like that trip is off the charts. Like you can't do that. Like it's a beautiful day, and you got a great view of LA up from the Hollywood sign, but they couldn't do the hike, right? And like I think that the nice thing is when you pursue function, the aesthetics will follow, right? And you've got to get that. It's fitness is about what you can do, right? And it's, again, like we have to own it that maybe we're to blame for some of that messaging. We can't take credit for the good messaging and not take the blame for the bad messaging, right? Like it's all or it's not us. So I think that I feel it's important to really I think that idea about who, particularly now that I'm, in my early 50s, that it's thinking about longevity and function, and you want to stay lean, you want to stay strong, you want to be healthy, but I'm really not interested in getting down a 4% body fat or doing a photo shoot for a magazine, or and which like I'm interested in, can I stay functional? Could I go on a bike ride if somebody invited me at the last minute? Could I go on a hike? Could I catch that connection, right, at the airport, carrying my bags, right? Is that who, like, do I, as I aged, can I be strong and functional and completely independent? That's the thing. I think that's something that perhaps changes as you get older. I've got no issues with somebody who wants to look better. I think there's been a weird thing recently where with body positivity, we've went the other way, that somebody, I'll never fat shame or judge anybody how they look, but I feel that society now is, wow, you want to look better, you want to improve your health, you should be ashamed of yourself, happy of how you are. Like we're going too far. It's okay to want to feel better. It's okay to want to improve yourself. And but I think it's the training for function is the answer. It's
What can we do, Alan? Like us in the fitness industry, because I hear what you're saying. Like we are to blame, and I think of things that and I like to post fun, wild stuff because, like you said, those are the things that get more views on social media. What can we do to change that so that we are looked at as professionals?
I think we conduct ourselves as professionals. Like you don't see doctors taking shots at each other on Instagram. Like we don't see them being negative about other doctors. We just have to like rise above, and it starts with you put your own oxygen mask on first. Like you look after your clients and you spread the message there, and you talk to other like-minded professionals, and it's I really believe that at the heart of everything that we do, every government, every large corporation, every small business, every family, there's just people. And with my powers, my superpowers that I have to help someone improve their fitness, improve everything about themselves, if I can do that to one person, I can impact that person, and I can impact them positively. And I just have to do that again and again, and I'll impact that family, and I'll impact that small business. I'll impact that large business, that corporation. I'll impact that government, and I can change the world. But it starts with one, right? And that's all I can do is to start with the one, and I just do that, and I try to do that again.
And with our frustration with the medical community, what can we do there? And speak to the other fitness professionals out there or the clients. What can we do?
Help educate, help the doctors. Doctors, I think, do a lot of good work. I'm sure they're super busy. They don't understand exercise, and they need your help. Not like, and I hope I'm coming across that I respect them. Ask them questions for clarifying questions, and just let them know, listen, we're both working for the same person. We're both working for your patient and my athlete, and we have the best for them. And I just want some clarification on what you've asked. And when you present yourself as an educated person making a professional phone call to another professional, you get taken very seriously.
Yeah.
I want to clarify what you mean by no squats. A squat pattern in my world is sitting in a chair, it's going to the bathroom, it's getting in and out of a car. And you've said she can't do that. I'm sure that she's misinterpreted that when she's explained that to me. But I'm wondering, can you give me a clarification what you actually mean? And how long is this for? How long is this restriction? This cannot be for life. Where did the 15 pounds, and for clients, for athletes who talk to the doctor who says no more than 15 pounds, did they ask you what you normally lift? Otherwise, it could have been 16, 28, 104. Like, it's just a random number, right? Like, it's one of these, like, it looks about right, right? And but in respect, like a doctor wants to cover their butt, right? They don't want to say something that can cause a problem. And so always come from a position of curiosity, but don't be afraid to ask questions as a professional. You are a professional, and you're allowed to be taken like one. And I've sent in-body scans to doctors. Here's a little hack. If you send something to a doctor as regards a patient, as a professional, they have to keep it on file. So your logo is now in front of the doctor's face all the time as a high-level professional. So you send an in-body test or like a strength test and just say, hey, just as our mutual client, your patient, my athlete, here's some information. So I think it starts with us. And I always think that, and that's how we open Results Fitness is, I believe if you complain about something 3 times, you have to shut up and become the solution. Right? It's on you now. You may be the only person who's identified this, but you either just accept it, this is the way it is, or you're like, all right, I got to come up with a solution. And I just felt like a lot of gyms, the world doesn't need more gyms. It needs better people in the gyms. It needs better coaches, better help. And really that's how Results Fitness started, is I kept complaining about the standard of the profession. And eventually it was actually our mutual friend, Craig Valentine, because I was at one point, I was like, I don't know about that. And he goes, you need to go in deeper to fitness, not come out. You need to go deeper. He goes, you're complaining about it and it hurts and it bothers you and you're the guy to fix it. And I was like, yeah. And he's right. Like you sometimes, it starts with you. Like how do you fix your local doctor? The one doctor, right? How do you get the one client? Like how do all your clients train for function? Do they understand what training for purpose is? Are they all stronger than average? Do they know if they run into an injury that we're going to train the rest of the body? Like it starts with us, right? And it actually becomes like kind of cathartic when you realize you own it, right? When someone comes into our gym who's been at another gym and it tells me a bad experience they had with that, the first thing I do is I apologize for it as if it was my fault, because this is my industry. If you had a bad experience, I apologize. We should do better.
Yeah.
Like instead of being, oh, those guys suck over there, I'm just like, yep, we'll do better. You don't have to worry anymore. You're at Results Fitness now. Right.
Tell me, Alan, I want to make sure that, because there may be some fitness professionals listening, and I want them to know what you offer. So can you speak to that?
As little as possible. No, we have a little bit of a. If you follow me on Instagram, that's probably the marketing channel right now for us. For that, we have. Still run the gym. I still run the gym, Results Fitness, here in Santa Clarita, California, and we've been open 25 years now. But aside from that, we also have a separate company called Results Fitness University, which is different levels of membership, which is really, it's everything I wished I'd had when I started out. It was the mentors that I wished I had. It was hard to access then because we didn't have this. And we have, video calls once a month and, coaching calls, and we do things. And it's really just about, I think that if I told you that my best friend from Scotland was going to come in the room in a second, and he's the #1 plastic surgeon in Edinburgh, and my other friend's coming in and he's the highest ranked lawyer in Glasgow, you're picturing a very successful person, right? But if I said he's the #1 personal trainer in Aberdeen, you're like, we don't have that reputation. That guy is super successful. And I think because it has to be, I think all the talk about sick care in the US, and they call it healthcare, it's sick care. We're healthcare. We're frontline, right? And we can really make a difference. And I think every personal trainer out there, every fitness professional, particularly ones who've went through this entire podcast still listening to us, because you deserve to be successful. And if I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Yeah, and we'll have some info in the show notes too to let folks know.
Well, we owe Craig a debt of gratitude for encouraging you to dig deeper into this, because you have made such an impact from the end user, the client, but also by helping coaches like ourselves become better coaches. If you had a wish for our listeners today, what would it be?
I wish everybody could live long and be independent is my big overarching thing that's hitting home with me right now. And I just understand that easy does not mean easy, and simple are not the same thing, right? Everything you have to do is extremely simple, but it doesn't mean it's easy. And when you understand that, you're going to have a breakthrough.
My wish would be that, like Alan said, we train for function.
And my wish is that whatever obstacle you come up against, you look for, what can I do to overcome this obstacle?
Some people see obstacles, some people see the
opportunities. Exactly.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.